Hello, hello, hello. Welcome once again to Into the Fray. I am your host, Fray the Chaos Wizard, and I hold in my hands today a deck of tarot cards. 78 cards in that beautiful, sexy tarot deck. And when you got a deck of 78 cards, what you're really holding is a sequence of cards that no one's ever held before. Because the number of possible combinations of said cards is a number none of us can really comprehend. It's a 1 followed by 115 zeros. To put that in a context, if you were to count the atoms in the known universe, it'd be a 1 followed by like 80 zeros. Now, if you're stupid, like me, you probably initially assume, well, that's like almost twice as much, but that's not how that works. That is so many times more combinations of cards in the tarot deck than there are atoms in the universe, that the number of times more that there are is also a number that's incomprehensible. Right. Ooh, sexy stuff. So what I like to do is I like to shuffle it like I just did. I like to cut the deck too. You gotta cut it. I don't know why, but you just do. It's just very necessary. If I was reading your tarot, which I kind of am, by the way, because the intent of this reading is I want to read America. You set the cards down, you give them 3 little fucking taps, and a little shake for good luck. And then we'll see what we got. We're reading America's tarot, baby. Boom! What's this? Kind of hard to see because my green screen's affected. Oh, that is the 10 of Pentacles reversed. Reverse 10 of Pentacles. Okay, so, if you have the 10 of Pentacles upright like this, then what you got is a card about wealth. Pentacles in the tarot mean material things, not necessarily money, but usually money. It means, stability and prosperity and all that shit. And, it's 10 is a high number of pentacles. It's the highest number before you get to things like the Ace of Pentacles and stuff like that. But this is a card about prosperity, but reversed as we drew it, it's a card of the fucking opposite. It's a card of squandered legacy, squandered or misused wealth, corruption, that kind of thing. So no surprise there. Next card. Whoop. What do we got? That's the King of Wands. Also fucking reversed. So King of Wands upright. That's good leadership, basically. That's a charismatic, bold, intelligent leader. So reversed, it means like a lot of the opposite, right? It's arrogance and tyranny and impulsiveness in our leader. Shocking. Okay, what we got? Last one. What is that? I'll just have to look. It doesn't really show well on the camera. Ace of Pentacles. Not reversed, though. And we actually just referenced the Ace of Pentacles a second ago as one of the few. It's the only Pentacle card that's higher, I think. I mean, other than like King and shit. So, Ace of Pentacles, upright, basically, I mean, that's a good card. It's, in a dark reading that says, we're misusing our wealth and we're led by a moron. This is a good card. Because what this is basically saying right here is, that there's still potential. There is still the possibility of prosperity and growth and all that kind of shit. So not a terrible reading overall, at least ends on a positive note. But the reason I bring up all this stuff about storytelling and synchronicity and how narrative can sometimes feel as though it predicts the future or captures the present in some way is because on my last video, I talked about the Charlie Kirk assassination and some of the questions that I have about some of the things that have been laid out about that story. And one of the people in my comments was like, have you seen this shit with the Charlie Kirk assassination and the movie Snake Eyes? And I hadn't seen that. I had not seen that. I went and looked almost immediately because I remember seeing the movie Snake Eyes a very, very long time ago. But I didn't really remember much about it. So, here we go. This is the movie poster right here. It's a movie that stars Nicolas Cage, one of my favorite actors, but I don't particularly care for him in this movie, to be honest with you. But my opinions of the movie are neither here nor there. So on the movie poster, you see Nicolas Cage there. He's doing the little power hand gesture thing, which a lot of people have read something into because they're like, well, Charlie Kirk also has been photographed doing that, and so is Donald Trump. So is 1,000,001 people. This is a pretty common fucking hand gesture, especially for people who are trying to look fucking important and like, I'm a powerful person, you know? So I don't really buy into the hand gesture shit. But nonetheless, there is some weird shit about the Charlie Kirk assassination in this movie that need to be discussed. If you haven't heard about this already, and it's kind of hard to believe that you haven't because I've seen it in numerous places at this point, but if you haven't heard about this already, here's a little summary, okay? So in the movie, there is a guy played by Nicolas Cage that is attending a boxing match. And at that boxing match, there is a political figure by the name of Charles Kirkland. Obviously, a very similar name to Charlie Kirk, who is assassinated at that boxing event. He is shot in the exact same part of the neck that Charlie Kirk was. And you even see a blood spurt similar to what you saw in the Charlie Kirk video if you indeed watched that video. Which, if you were on social media that day, it was pretty fucking hard to avoid. Now, some people have said that the movie also takes place on September 10th. And they are basing this on the fact that there is a billboard advertising the fight in the background of a particular scene. And on that billboard, it appears to say September 10th, which is also, of course, the day Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Now, there has been some dispute about this. People have looked at this poster and said that is not a 0, that is a 9, so this is actually the 19th. It also looks as though it could credibly be the 18th or even the 16th. I have looked at the scene. I've gone over it with a fine-tooth comb. It is pretty much impossible to say for 100% certain, but I am about 80% certain that it does indeed say the 19th. But still September? You know, I mean, not bad. The other really strange coincidence is that in the film, there is a fighter who is competing in the boxing match named Tyler the Executioner. As you guys might remember, Tyler Robinson is the guy who supposedly shot Charlie Kirk. There's a guy named Tyler the Executioner who took a dive in his fight for the sake of giving the shooter a line of sight to his target. Now, a bunch of people have found all sorts of other little coincidences from this movie that add up to, being similar to the Charlie Kirk assassination. But honestly, most of the other stuff is pretty fucking stupid. Most of the other stuff is stuff like, oh shit, there's human beings in this movie, and there was human beings at Charlie Kirk's assassination. I mean, it's not quite that stupid, but it's almost that stupid. But still, the fact that you have a politician or a political figure named Charles Kirkland who is shot in the neck at a public event, and that there is a guy named Tyler the Executioner as part of the proceedings, as part of the conspiracy, that alone, I think, is pretty fucking wild, is it not? A lot of people want to read stuff into this, like, oh, it's a big conspiracy. I mean, like, I don't see how it could be a human conspiracy, though. Like, when was Charlie Kirk even born? 1993? So the makers of this movie knew that some fucking 5-year-old kid was going to grow up to be a politically significant figure who would be assassinated? And then they decided to foretell it in a movie? Like, is that the narrative we're going with? Because that, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it might be somewhat far-fetched to me. But could it be what I was talking about earlier? What I was talking about with the tarot? Some kind of weird little synchronicity. And if it is, it's not exactly the first time it's happened. We also saw that there was a book, and this is a pretty famous, well-known thing, but maybe I'm telling somebody this for the first time. There was a novella published 14 years before the Titanic sank that seemed to have predicted the disaster. Okay, so in the novella, which was by a dude named Morgan Robertson, there is a ship. It is called the Titan. The name of the book is Futility, by the way. It's called the Titan. The book was later re-released as The Wreck of the Titan after the sinking of the Titanic, because, of course, people wanted to capitalize. But even in the original book, story, novella, Futility, there is a ship. It is called the Titan. People think it is unsinkable. It sails across the Atlantic Ocean. It hits an iceberg, and it fucking sinks, So, pretty close to the exact conditions of the Titanic, with a very similar name to the Titanic, published 14 years before the Titanic fucking happened. This is not the only such instance. This is a pretty famous one as well. The Simpsons, there was an episode where they go to New York City, and this is a screenshot from that episode where you see New York, $9 bus fare, and you see the two towers there, and it looks like it says 9/11 pretty fucking clearly there. There's also a scene in that episode where Homer actually goes into the Twin Towers from one to the other. There is also the instance where the Simpsons predicted that Donald Trump would be president. There was an episode where I think it was an episode where Lisa goes to see a fortune teller. Actually, I don't think it was a fortune teller one. I think that was a different future Simpsons kind of storyline. Whatever. The only thing that matters is it was one of these episodes where they show you a glimpse of the future. And in this version of the future, Lisa Simpson becomes president of the United States of America. And there is a throwaway line in that episode about, as you know, we've inherited quite a budget crunch from President Trump. So the Simpsons predicted that Donald Trump would be president. Now, they didn't intend for that to be a prediction. They intended for that to be a fucking joke, because the idea of President Trump was once so absurd that we could just laugh about the very fucking idea. Nonetheless, it came to pass. There is also an episode of The Lone Gunman. I don't know, you guys probably remember The X-Files, right? The X-Files was a very popular show on Fox in the 90s. It was one of their few popular shows back then. And they had a spin-off show featuring three sort of conspiracy nut hacker nerds. And that show is called The Lone Gunman. And on the very first episode, the pilot episode of The Lone Gunman, there is a plot, a terrorist plot, wherein terrorists take over an airplane and fly it into the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. Or they attempt. The Lone Gunman, of course, save the day and stop the evil terrorists, but that was the plot. Let's fly a plane into the World Trade Center. Thus, predicting 9/11. So here's another one. This one is probably the most compelling because a lot of these you got to kind of do a little bit of stretching. Charles Kirkland to Charlie Kirk, Titan to Titanic. This one does not require any such labors from you. In 1838, Edgar Allan Poe wrote a story about 4 stranded sailors who eat the cabin boy named Richard Parker in order to survive, and then 46 years later, the exact sequence of events happens. 4 stranded sailors kill and eat their cabin boy, Richard Parker, in order to fucking survive. So there is this weird thing that sometimes happens, I think. And you can chalk it up to just being absolute fucking coincidence. And hey, you could be right. You could be right. But nonetheless, it does seem that occasionally there are these very fucking strange parallels between fiction and reality that go beyond the mere coincidental, or at least what we think of as the mere coincidental. Because think of all of the creative decisions that have to line up for these events to happen just fucking so. It'd be one thing if there was a movie called Snake Eyes wherein a guy named Charles Kirkland gets shot. But to get shot in the exact same fucking place? To get shot in the presence of a co-conspirator named Tyler the Executioner, whose actions help facilitate the assassination? I mean, it's just a lot of peculiar shit. And I don't want to jump to conclusions here. I don't want to say that this is a plot or this proves that there is some sort of, grander architecture of reality that we just don't perceive. I don't want to jump to any conclusions. All I'm saying is, it's curious. It's interesting. It's fascinating. That's it. That's the only thing I'm saying here. And I don't want you to go running with it. I don't want you to make conclusions for me, because I see people doing it. I see them on Twitter fucking saying this is the deep state, or this is the Illuminati, or this is God, or this is this or that or the other thing, and, jumping to all these ridiculous conclusions. And I think that's what gives these lines of thought a bad name in the first place. All I'm saying is that at least intuitively, and intuition can be very faulty, of course. Like, I would never intuit the sheer number of combinations these cards could have. But nonetheless, mathematically, that is the number of combinations. So intuition can fail us. But it does seem like just intuitively, that's 1 or 2 fucking coincidences too fucking far. It feels that way. But just because it feels that way doesn't mean anything. But I don't like when people jump to conclusions, but I also don't like when people jump away from conclusions. I don't like when people just hand wave shit like, just a bunch of coincidences. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, maybe that's right. Or maybe it is the Illuminati. Maybe it is God. Maybe it is some sort of mystical synchronicity. Or maybe not. Maybe it's none of that shit. Who knows? Nobody. That's all I'm saying. I'm agnostic. But I do have a favored explanation, if I'm being honest with you. I feel like there's just something going on where things in reality just kind of have a tendency to rhyme. They say history repeats itself. Well, I think that also life imitates art. Art imitates life. And strange little nuggets of the future bleed into the past, and strange little nuggets of the past bleed into the future. I guess that's just basic causality at that point, though. But I just think everything's all wibbly-wobbly, topsy-turvy, and anybody who thinks they've really got a handle on it is kind of being a little bit arrogant. That's all I'm telling you. And if you got a dispute with that, hey, I'm willing to hear you out. I'm not claiming I know everything. I could be fucking talking out my fucking ass right now. And you could tell me, actually, there was bound to be a film that correlated to the events of Charlie Kirk's assassination so closely. With the sheer number of films we have, it's actually statistically improbable there wouldn't be such a film. Maybe you can prove that to me mathematically. But I doubt it, bitch! Ha 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 ha! Anyway. Let's talk a little bit about something else, shall we? Let's talk about this concert I attended briefly. I don't want to, get too deep into that. I was here. I was here in St. Louis for the Marilyn Manson concert at the pageant. And I saw this shit. I was here. So fuck you. I'm God, basically, is what I'm saying. No, the cool thing about that, going to that concert that night, first of all, Marilyn Manson looking, sounding, performing better than he has in, I don't know, many, many years. Almost the entire duration of the time I've seen him. I first saw Manson at the State Palace Theater in New Orleans in 1999, or maybe it was 2000. And he was great then. And, over the years, seeing him, he started to get a little fatter. He started to get a little slower. He started to get a little bit drunker. But now it's like, goddamn, back on top, back in form. But I know I don't want to spend too much time talking about Manson because I know that's one of my little niche interests and all that. But while I was in St. Louis, I did talk to my uncle, who is, kind of a nut. I know that probably surprises you because obviously, I'm so sane and stable and grounded that, how would my family be so different, so nutty, so wacky? But, no, my uncle, he is a big aliens guy. He's really super into the aliens stuff. And he just wouldn't stop talking about this three-eye atlas. You guys know about the three-eye atlas? 3I stands for third interstellar object. Because very recently, a number of interstellar objects have entered our solar system. And that should be kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but there have been 3 in very, very rapid succession. I mean, not like boom, boom, boom in the sense of like, oh my God, it's like every other day there's a new interstellar object. But in terms of like cosmic time, very frequent. And this is the 3rd one in, not too long of a time period. And, Guy was just going on and on about how, it's speed and its construction and its behaviors are just super indicative of the fact that the aliens are coming. This is their mothership. They are coming to this Earth, and they will be here sometime in November. And do I believe it? Not really. But do I hope he's right? Kinda. Because, man, we are not doing a good job down here. And I think maybe we might need some extraterrestrial intervention. And if they're good aliens, like from the day the Earth stood still and they've just come to help us out, awesome. If they're bad aliens who have just come to fucking annihilate us, like the Independence Day aliens or the War of the World aliens, you know what I mean? Like, well, we had a good run. Maybe it's time to wrap things up. And aliens, that'd be a cool end of the world. Like a few days ago, Christians were expecting the end of the world. I don't know how they got it into their heads, but somehow a bunch of Christians were pretty goddamn sure the rapture was going to happen. And, lo and behold, it didn't. Although maybe it did and we just didn't notice because there's so few actually real Christians in the world that their disappearance was just negligible in the grand scheme of things. But a bunch of Christians were pissed they didn't get raptured. And I'm going to be kind of pissed if this UFO doesn't show up. If November doesn't herald the arrival of the alien mothership, I'm not going to lie to you. I am going to be just a wee bit butthurt about that. But maybe I shouldn't concern myself with such things because, I hate to be too optimistic. I don't want to get my hopes up for the alien mothership to show up, and then when it doesn't, I get all sad and mopey. But I'm just saying, fingers crossed on that. That's all I'm really saying to you here. So this next section of the video is a little section I like to call shit I found on Twitter. That's all this is, just a random assortment of shit that I happen to find on Twitter, which I will never call X. Don't fucking call it X. X is wrong. It is Twitter. It always was. It always will be. Just a reminder. All right, let's see what we got. This first thing, this a little bit boomery, I guess. It's a little wine mommy in the humor department, but nonetheless, I did get a chuckle out of it. I believe Donald J. Trump was sent by God. Why? Did he run out of locusts? I mean, that's fucking funny, isn't it? I'm amused by it. Maybe you don't. Did you laugh? Let me know if you laughed. I did. Fuck you. Whatever. I think it's fucking funny. All right, here's another thing I found. This is from Don Winslow. No idea who that is, by the way. I don't know no Don Winslow, but I did see it. It was on my feed. Remember when your Twitter feed and your YouTube feed was comprised of shit that you chose to follow and or subscribe to? And now it's just like, here's a bunch of bullshit. I don't know what it's for. I don't know how it got there. Oh, it says what he is right here. #1 best-selling author of 3 New York Times Critics' Choice best books. Okay, good. He says, if you think this country can handle 3+ more years of this, you're wrong. You're wrong! Underneath, you got Charlie's Army saying, I think what you mean to say is if you think the left can handle 3 more years, you're wrong. That's our hope. Completely dismantle the America-hating, corrupt left. Good job, Charlie's Army. You know, I don't really agree with this guy's sentiments, I gotta be honest with you. I mean, what we're going through now is pretty shitty. But it's not exactly unfucking precedented, is it? Now, a lot of people would hearken back to, you know, fucking the Civil War, for instance. A time when America was literally cleaved asunder and we murdered each other en masse. That was a pretty rough fucking time period, you know, and we managed to come out okay on that one. You know, it's not like it ended our problems, but we managed to work it out. The streets ran red with blood. Countless fucking millions were either killed or maimed, but America survived. Did she not? Uh-oh. The traditional I'm streaming phone call. Hello. I am recording. What's up? Goodbye. Fare thee well, good sir. Okay. Where were we? Oh, yes, the Civil War. But this, these events of late are actually kind of more reminiscent of the first 2 decades of the 20th century, which is a time period that I feel like we don't actually talk about all that much. Actually, first 3 decades, I should say. Which is like there was an anarchist scare in America. In 1901, President McKinley was shot by some anarchist. And, you know, in the 19 teens, 1920s, somewhere thereabouts, there was a whole shit ton of deportations and arrests and even killings of anybody who was associated with anarchism. Because there had been some anarchist bombings, and these anarchist attacks were used as a pretext for the government to basically crack down on unions, because the unions were tied to the anarchists, the socialists were tied to the anarchists, and, you know, all sorts of people were branded anarchists with very little evidence, and they were deported out of the country, or they were sent to jail, or they were just flat out fucking, you know, killed. In some instances, because it was like, hey, you did this bombing, and even though there was no good evidence, a lot of times that the person that had been arrested for the bombing had done the bombing, they would still just fucking execute the person. And so it was a brutal time in American history where these anarchist bombings were used as a pretext to crack down on civil liberties, to expand the FBI, to strengthen federal power. I mean, does that sound familiar to you? Sounds familiar to me. Sounds kind of like, I don't know, right about now, actually. Except this time it's not anarchists, it's leftists. So yeah, I mean, I do think America could survive this. I don't think that we should be so fucking pessimistic, man. America's been through some goddamn shit. Now, could this be the end? Maybe. But I don't think, I don't know. If I was a betting man, which I am, I don't think it is. I don't think this is the end of America by a long shot. I think we got a few more good years. Well, we got a few more years ticking on this fucking baby right here. How good they are, I don't know. Okay, this is kind of a revisit of a topic we talked about last video. This is Erica Kirk. And this is a dude named Ben Wehrman. saying, how long are people going to keep telling themselves everyone grieves differently until their natural intuition kicks in and they realize every moment Erica's been on, not Erica Trump. She might as well be Erica Trump at this point. Erica has been on camera since September 10th, has been inconsistent with the way anyone else on Earth would act in her situation. Well, I gotta fucking...
so blessed to have...
I gotta disagree with you a little bit on that, too. Because I watch a lot of true crime videos, and it's really not all that uncommon for there to be people who are in seemingly good spirits after a tragic event. That being said, I did point out in my last video that there are a lot of fucking ways in which Erica Kirk materially benefits from Charlie Kirk's death. I'll just go over them again very briefly here. $12 million in inheritance, $6 million in fundraising, becomes the new CEO of TPUSA, which controls over $400 million in capital. Whatever his life insurance policy was worth. And now she is basically taking his place on his tour, and she's the new fucking Charlie Kirk. So, I mean, she made out like a fucking bandit. Like a fucking bandit. Now, does that mean she did it or she had a hand in it? Obviously, it does not. But she benefited hugely.
More work than we even could ever dream of. I mean, it's beautiful, and Turning Point Action, full steam ahead. So powerful. So blessed to have more work.
Okay. You know, I mean, I don't really feel like this is another piece of the puzzle. Okay? She don't see, like, there's a little sadness in the smile. There's a little sadness in the tone of voice, a wistfulness. Now, I don't necessarily know that I buy it, but I don't not buy it. Like, you know, she could be fucking sincere. Stranger things have happened. Like, I don't think that this is unusual for a fucking goddamn grieving widow. Okay? Like, I don't think it's all that fucking weird for a fucking grieving widow 2 weeks later to be fucking smiling and fucking talking about something. Like, you know, I don't know how long it was after my dad's death that I smiled again, but it was definitely sooner than fucking 2 weeks. I didn't fucking just spend fucking weeks and weeks of my life, my daddy's dead. You know, I mean, you know, there was grieving and it still hurt. But it doesn't just cancel out every fucking goddamn other thing in fucking life for weeks upon weeks upon weeks upon weeks, okay? At least not for me. Maybe for some people it does. Maybe there are very emotional people who it takes them a very fucking long time to get over that sort of grief. But, you know, not me. And maybe not Erica Kirk, you know? I mean, maybe she's just not that kind of fucking person, right? Right. So the next thing I want to talk about, and this is sort of, you know, how 38 minutes and 53 seconds into this shit, getting to the original topic that I conceived of for this video before I decided to add, you know, 12,000 years of, like, bloated shit to the video. But this is, I want to talk about the health of Donald Trump. I want to talk about his health. So the first thing I want to show you, these are not recent photos. These are photos that go all the way back to 2019. Here is President Trump with Jon Voight, the greatest actor of all time. And, you know, he's got a little something going on. Can you see that right there? Let's get a little closer to that. Look at that. Look at his fucking hand. It's fucking blue. His fucking hand is goddamn blue. 2019. Hello? I know there's an image on this too. Oh, I see. I must have, when I made that one bigger, I made every image in the fucking timeline bigger. I see. Blue here too. Same day, of course. You see that. I think that's still John Voight back there. Here is a more recent one. This one's not from 2019, I don't think. Man, the nunt is out in full display, that weird little pussy on his neck. But as you can see here, super bruised up hand, not even the same hand. His hand, I mean, the bruise encompasses almost the totality of his goddamn hand at this point. Also, and this is something that's been pointed out, look at the fucking size of President Trump's goddamn ankles, bro. Motherfucker's got elephantitis of the fucking ankle. They are bloated. They are swollen to fuck and back. Jesus titty fucking Christ. This is why a lot of times when you see this guy, he's walking funny. Or he's standing weird, like putting way more weight in the front than you'd imagine, where he's practically fucking like leaning forward at a 90-degree angle. Because his feet are bloated. Look at those fucking things. Is he going to have to get those amputated at some point? Is this fucking diabetes or something? I mean, I know they put out something that said his circulation is dog shit, which is not surprising considering he fucking eats Big Macs and Filet-O-Fishes all day. And then there's this photo. Remember a fucking few weeks back, Donald Trump disappeared for like 6 days, which is weird for him. It's unusual behavior for Donald Trump to disappear for 6 fucking days. And when he came back, he had this shit going on where one side of his face is all droopy and weird. It looks like he fucking has, he had a mini stroke, or he has Bell's palsy or some shit. Half of his face all weird and limp and numb. And oh my God, that pussy on his neck is getting more and more anatomically fucking vagina-esque by the moment, is it not? Now, I think it was about 14 months ago at this point that, what the fuck is this? Look at what's going on here. How the fuck did this happen? How'd you loop around that? You know what? You're kicked out of the bracelet club, bitch. Get out of here. You wretch. You reprobate. You horrible thing. Yeah, Donald Trump, bro. He was, almost assassinated. We talked about that last show too. I think it's been about 14 months since that day. And that was the day that a lot of us had to start wondering about the question of what if it had succeeded? What if Donald Trump had been successfully assassinated? And we have a little bit more to go on now because we see what happened with Charlie Kirk, but I don't honestly think that we can glean much from that. I think that if Donald Trump's assassination had been successful, would you have seen his base become ultra, super energized? Yes. Would you have seen them talking the craziest shit you've ever heard in your life? Yes. Would the Civil War rhetoric be cranked up to 10? Yes. Would there be a bunch of crazy fucking MAGAs shooting up gay bars and black neighborhoods and so on and so forth to get retribution for the death of their beloved leader? Probably. At least a few. But you know what I don't think you would see? I don't think you would see this great coming together of the right that you've seen in the wake of the Charlie Kirk thing, simply because of one simple fact. Power abhors a vacuum. And in the absence of beloved leader Donald J. Trump, every right-winger who feels like they could be the new Trump is going to start feuding and fussing and fighting to see who can come out on top of the big old MAGA shit heap. You're going to see factionalization. You're going to see fracture. You're going to see these motherfuckers at each other's throats saying the most hideous things about one another. Because guess what? Trump has no heir apparent. If he does, who is it? Eric Trump? I don't think so. Don Jr.? Barron? Maybe. That boy tall. But you know what? We haven't even heard him speak. I never have heard his voice. Have you heard his voice? I never once have heard that motherfucker talk, except I think one time in a clip I heard him shake someone's hand and be like, "Oh yeah, pleased to meet you," or some crap like that. That's it. That's it. So I don't know about Barron. He's got the look. But does he have the gravitas? Who else is on the fucking list? J.D. Vance? No. Can you imagine a fucking fascist movement in America rising up, galvanized around J.D. fucking Vance? Now, I'm not saying he couldn't be president, and I'm not saying they wouldn't suck his cock, but it would be in the way that they suck the cock of any fucking right-wing guy that gets into power. You know, the same way they suck Bush's cock, right? Like, nobody really liked him. Nobody really thought much of him. But he was their leader. And you gotta follow the leader. We're following the leader, the leader, the leader. But they didn't do it with passion. They didn't do it with oomph. They didn't do it with, oh, yeah. But Trump, they do. And when he's gone, I don't know. I don't think it'll be the same story. I think these motherfuckers will be at each other's throats in a heartbeat. Each one trying, like, we're true MAGA. Well, we're MAGA East. Well, we're MAGA West. Well, we're Omega MAGA. Well, we're Super MAGA. It's going to be a mess, baby. And it might be a mess that, you know, given Trump's weird little health scares, it might be a mess that we're not too far away from witnessing. But don't get your hopes up too much, because these politicians, I mean, think fucking Nancy Pelosi, you know? Think fucking Mitch McConnell. Think fucking Dianne Feinstein, you know? Like, they keep these fuckers alive and ticking forever and ever and ever. Joe Biden, for fuck's sake. Joe Biden couldn't talk. Joe Biden didn't know where he was. Joe Biden didn't know what was going on. Joe Biden would ramble and rant and rave about nothing. He would start whispering stuff for no reason, Jack. No one knew what the fuck was going on with Joe Biden. We barely saw Joe Biden. They hid him from us. But he kept on ticking, man, and he's still ticking. We still ain't got word Joe Biden finally kicks the damn bucket. So don't get your hopes up too much. There's some secret CIA, FBI, NRA, NBC, whatever the fuck, technology that just keeps these fucking politicians alive in goddamn perpetuity. They will not die. And when they do, they're like 172 years old. Even Methuselah is like, you're an old man. It's fucking nuts. They live to be biblical ages, my man. So don't get your hopes up too much that we'll see it anytime soon. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised if we do, right? You know, because his face is drooping. His hands are blue. His ankles are the size of fucking grapefruits. I mean, chances are, you know, I mean, we'll see. But I do predict that whenever it does happen, that will be the wackiest goddamn day that you ever fucking see in your life. Well, maybe not, because the future is just going to get weirder and weirder. But it'll be the wackiest day of your life so far when it finally fucking happens. Because even though he's in shitty health and he's an old man, when he kicks the bucket, huge swaths of the right are going to say that he was assassinated by the deep state or the left or whatever the fuck. You know, it doesn't matter. Evidence will not persuade them otherwise. He is going to be a victim of some plot in the eyes of the right. And they're going to go fucking batshit fucking nuts. And the left and the libs will fucking be like, he was a great man, blah, 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 because they're fucking pussies. But no one's going to believe him. They won't even believe themselves. And the fucking, the actual fucking left is going to be, celebrate good times, come on, bump, 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 bump. And every right-winger that sees that is going to be like, how fucking dare you! And there's going to be violence, and there's going to be threats, and there's going to be chaos, beautiful chaos. Shit will burn. Shit will explode. Shit will be fucking wacky. Coming soon to a street near you. Oh, it's, and it doesn't matter when it happens, by the way. Even if it happens 10 years from now and he's not president and he's an old man and whatever, it'll still be the same. Obviously, it would be about, it won't be the same. It would be like 50% of what it would be if it happened soon. But if it happens in the next 3 years, oh, fuck. I hope that you have my mentality about this country. I hope that you have my mentality so that you can treat the whole thing like a big, crazy, wacky, dangerous carnival spectacle. Because if you're like a serious, civic-minded, intelligent, compassionate, empathetic person who's actually like invested in caring about this country on a fucking fundamental emotional level, you're going to have a fucking bad time. But if you're like me, might not be so bad, might be kind of entertaining, might be kind of fun. So what's next on our agenda? Speaking of Trump says he's sending troops to war-ravaged America City, authorizes full force. What'd he say? Here's his truth post. At the request, or should I try it to read it in a Trumpy voice? I'm not that good at it, but I'll do it. At the request of Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for your attention to this matter. You know, and I at first, when I heard that Portland is war-ravaged, I was skeptical, but then I saw this live feed here, and you know, I mean, you see the explosions and shit. Wait, actually, is that? No, it's the one under. Yeah, that's it. That's right. Yeah. Let's see. Can we look at this closer? Yeah, it's feed is updating. Let's see. Do we see any explosions or anything here? Let's update. Let's see. Traffic proceeding as normal. Well, you know, that's just, it shows the strength of these great Portlanders, you know, that even as their city is ravaged by war, they go on about their days with their heads held high, you know. Looking for the explosions, the gunfire. Is that an explosion? Is that one? Maybe right there. That's an explosion. Or no, that's just a light. What's this up here? Some kind of F-15? No. Is that an explosion? That could be explosions. Look at that. What's that? Is that the ravages of war? No, I don't think it is, actually. Weird. I actually don't see any war maybe this is Portland, this is downtown Portland, you know, and it's actually uptown Portland where the war is happening, maybe. Is that what's going on? You know, it was kind of strange, too, because I tried to figure out just how war-ravaged Portland is right now. And so I looked up, like, the murder rate, obviously, has probably gone through the roof. And curiously enough, it seems the murder rate is down 51% from this time last year, which is kind of crazy. You know, like, I guess the war was even worse last year, but, you know, there's been 17 murders in the city. And I mean, it's a lot of murders, you know? I mean, that's, pretty high, I guess, right? I mean, 17 murders, those are like war totals, I think, you know? Yeah. I hate to question our dear leader and everything. Because, you know, he really is sort of a magnificent guy. Very intelligent. I've actually heard the J in his name stands for genius. Very brilliant man. You know, he's like a really smart person. So I hate to question him, especially knowing what a great American and great patriot he is. But it doesn't actually seem to me, from what I've read and from what I've seen, that Portland, Oregon is actually all that war-ravaged. Maybe he's thinking about Portland, Maine. Because Portland, Maine, honestly, like, that is a fucking war zone in Portland, Maine. But Portland, Oregon, I mean, it seems, you know, I mean, it's not. I'm not saying there's no tensions or there's nothing going on, but it doesn't really seem to be all that war-ravaged. It especially doesn't seem so war-ravaged that, you know, you need to send in the troops and you need to authorize them to use, quote-unquote, full force. anyone else think it's a little odd that, we on the left in the days since the Charlie Kirk assassination, been, I think, 17 days now. Anyone think it's kind of odd that after that happened, we were constantly labeled violent, 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 violent. And now we got a president who is on the right, who is literally sending troops in to potentially murder American citizens just for protesting, which I think might be protected by one of the amendments to the Constitution. I want to say, right to protest would be, I think, maybe the Fifth Amendment? 6th? 13th? No, which one was that? It was like, freedom of speech, freedom to petition the government for redress of grievance. Yeah, it's in there somewhere. I don't know. It's one of them. It's one of them. But now the President of the United States says that if you practice that right, you're a terrorist. And he's authorizing the army, the military, the National Guard, or whoever, to kill you. Which side's the violent one again? I'm confused about that, because I was told for the last 17 days that, man, who's the violent side is these damn leftists. But now it seems like maybe the right might be a little more violent than the left, using the power of the institutions that they control to murder people for practicing their constitutional right to petition the government for redress of grievance? But I don't think that we should let this stand in the way of Trump getting his Nobel Peace Prize that he's been angling for. Like, imagine the level of fucking delusional narcissism involved in being like, send the troops to kill those fucking protesters. I hate them. They're pussies, and they deserve to be shot for daring to defy me. And then being like, also, in the same breath, by the way, I deserve a Nobel Peace Prize because I am the most peaceful president ever. I want to show you something. This is something that I just think is wonderful. This is a list of enemies published by the administration that shows all of the Democrats who have fomented violence against poor, innocent ICE. Our men and women in law enforcement are just trying to do their goddamn jobs. Listen to these enemies. Tim Walz smeared ICE as a modern-day Gestapo. Gavin Newsom likened ICE to secret police, calling them authoritarian and proclaiming a right to push back. Governor J.B. Pritzker claimed the country is becoming Nazi Germany because ICE is grabbing people off the streets and disappearing them. Robin Kelly smeared ICE as the Gestapo and a betrayal. Jasmine Crockett compared ICE to slave patrols. Sylvia Garcia referred to ICE as thugs. Delia Ramirez referred to them as a terror force. Is this kind of shit not covered by that by the First Amendment? Because the purpose of this list is supposed to show us how this rhetoric has just gone too far. So, calling a government law enforcement agency the modern-day Gestapo is no longer protected speech. That's now some kind of hateful rhetoric that's fomenting and encouraging violence. You can't say that. I just saw J.D. Vance the other day say that, like, we still have the right to dissent. We still have the right to disagree with the immigration policies of the Trump administration. Okay, we have that right, but, like, how do we exercise it exactly? What kind of language would you guys approve of? What language could we use to possibly go against ICE? What do we have to say? What would be soft and delicate enough for you fucking snowflakes? I guess we just gotta be like, hey, right-wing, people, I just wanted you to know that I, as a leftist, I disagree with some of the things that ICE is doing. And I support them and I like them, but I just feel like maybe a few things they've done have gone a little tiny, itty bitty, insignificant little ways too far. That's all I'm saying. Is that good enough? Like, would that please you, masters? Would that meet with your approval? Is that safe enough dissent for you? Or would you still be like, how dare you? Because I kind of feel like it'd still be the fucking latter. But hey, you let me know. If there's any right-wingers watching this, let me know what language is acceptable to criticize this administration with, so that we can avoid being called violent just for fucking saying some words. Fucking pussies. Anyway, what else is going on in this great big white world of ours? By the way, I say white instead of wide because I'm making a Marilyn Manson reference because I'm a big Marilyn Manson fan. So, I was on the Twitter yesterday, and I saw a whole bunch of right-wing accounts saying that there was 250 or so plainclothes FBI agents present on January 6th, and that they were the ones who did all the bad shit. And of course, the actual genuine conservatives were all peaceful and law-abiding and just there on a sightseeing tour, really. But the evil, degenerate FBI infiltrators, they were the ones who really did all the bad stuff. That's the rhetoric that was going on the right yesterday, and will probably continue to go on for some time. But I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that a fella that I've talked to before by the name of PSA Sitch, of Adam and Sitch. I don't know if you guys knows them. They're not really, they're like, I would guess you'd call them like not left, century right, maybe, center, left, right, kind of, independent, I guess. I don't know what they call themselves. They're not really super far right. They're not really super far left. They got some right-wing shit. They got some left-wing shit. They got some fucking whatever shit. But, mostly they're on the right. But it was kind of neat to see them, or at least to see Sitch taking on this narrative that has happened on his Twitter. And he said, this is one of those interesting stories where people point to evidence that disproves their own theory, either because they didn't actually read the source material or they are lying. In this country, it's probably a little of column A and a little of column B. The 50-page report does not at any point talk about 250-plus agents being in plain clothes infiltrating the crowds on January 6th. The majority of the report is FBI personnel complaining about how unprepared, unequipped, and disorganized they were on January 6th to deal with crowd control, how they were thrust into the role of backing up the Capitol Police by acting as physical guards, not undercover agents, against the protesters/rioters. A role they say they were unprepared and untrained for. This all shows the exact opposite of the claim that many have been pushing, including the president, that the FBI had undercover agents in the crowd working to get people to riot. I've linked the report below. Here are some screenshots, blah, blah, blah. And he shows his work, and he shows how, this document does not say what MAGA says it does, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to deep dive it because I don't particularly care that much about this story. I recognize that ultimately we now live in the age of post-fucking truth. I've been saying it for quite some time now. I have made it absolutely and stunningly clear that that is what I believe. I think we've lived in that for a while now, but I think it has reached its fucking, maybe not even its apex, but it's definitely reached new heights in recent years. Facts do not matter. Facts will consistently lose to outright, disprovable, easily lies. And more importantly, carefully compiled statistical data that shows broader social and political trends is routinely ignored in favor of emotionally charged anecdotal evidence. And I am not even a strict no anecdotes guy. I think that anecdotes can be useful. I think that they can be interesting. I think that they can spotlight issues in a way that makes them accessible to people. However, I think that when you are willing to overlook the whole puzzle in favor of hyper-focusing on what one piece looks like on its own, you have kind of ceded your thinking to your amygdala at that point. You have kind of become a brainless fucking goon. You are no longer any sort of critical, rational person, etc., etc. And when I say critical and rational, I'm not talking about like a strict adherence to Neil deGrasse Tyson style ultra skepticism or whatever the fuck. What I'm simply talking about is not jumping to conclusions, not favoring your narrative over what appears to be the truth, not deciding that one emotionally charged event is indicative of a broader social trend when the actual evidence shows that the social trend is going in the fucking complete opposite direction. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about critical goddamn thinking. Now, since we're on the subject of post-truth and we are on the subject of Adam and Sitch, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with Adam and Sitch, and especially Adam, I believe. Now, I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying that I could very well be goddamn hallucinating what I'm about to say. And I think it's only fair that you know that. That you know that there is a good chance that what I'm about to tell you is a false memory implanted by Vuru Raha, the dark god of the forest temple, or some other malevolent entity that has led me astray and torn me asunder. But very recently, it was looking like Jimmy Kimmel was going to be kicked off the fucking air. And Adam and Sitch found themselves on the right-wing side of that issue saying, yes, Jimmy Kimmel should be kicked off the air. And this is a tweet that kind of gets into the reasoning why. And this is Adam saying, if Kimmel just made crass jokes, I would not support him getting fired. It's spreading misinformation that our society has to deal with. I understand this is a giant problem since there is often a conflict over what is true, but it's a difficult problem we still have to solve. And then Sitch says, if Trump administration wants to stop lying, they should try it themselves. So, they're making it clear we're not on anybody's side, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But here is Adam Friended saying that freedom of speech is one thing, but spreading misinformation is another thing. And if my memory serves me correctly, and maybe it doesn't, and if it doesn't, I apologize in advance to Adam and Sitch, but if my memory serves me correctly, there was a time a few years ago when I put forth a proposition, and I no longer believe in this proposition because I just think it's too fucking late. But at the time, my proposition was this: freedom of speech should not include freedom to knowingly lie. It should not include freedom to knowingly misinform. Because if you lie to one person to get them to behave in a way that is advantageous to you, that is called fraud. That is called a scam. That is called, coercion, etc. But if you do it en masse, then everyone, well, it's protected by free speech. It's protected by free speech. And so I proposed the creation of a government agency that would seek out misinformation and censor it and censure the person who did it. Now, I proposed that this government administration should have robust oversight in the form of a shit ton, a metric shit ton, in fact, of checks and balances. I proposed that it should be 100% transparent. I proposed that it should only be used in instances where the misinformation is absolutely 100% demonstrable. And there should be a tremendous amount of review and oversight, and we should be very careful with how this administration is used. I called it the fact check administration. And if memory, once again, serves, one of the two times that I went on the Adam and Sitch show, they lambasted this idea as the Ministry of Truth from 1984, and they said it was a terrible idea, and it was a ridiculous idea, and it was a nonsensical idea, and I was an absolute fucking moron for even proposing such an idea. And I just want to know, how the fuck does that jive with this? Because now it seems that they've come around to my way of thinking. But ironically, I no longer think that way anymore. Because guess what? That ship, in my opinion, has fucking sailed. That's over. The chance for that was then. And this is now. And now we're balls deep in post-truth. And there ain't no pulling out. We're in it at this point, fellas. We stuck our dick in crazy, and now we got to deal with the goddamn consequences. But you know what? I could not find, I scrubbed through, I spent a good solid 30 seconds to a minute scrubbing through those episodes looking for where we had that confrontation, and I just couldn't fucking find it. So maybe I am hallucinating, and if I am, I have wasted Adam and Sitch's time, and I've wasted all your time. So sorry about that. But I'm pretty sure I do remember that discussion happening. But if it didn't, whatever. Sorry, Adam. Sorry, Sitch. I am a fucking crazy person, and that should be very fucking apparent. But if we did have that discussion, fuck you a little bit. Okay. What else we got here? So the last... Well, no, this isn't the last. I got more. I got more shit. I got more shit to talk about. Fuck that. Fuck the last. We're doing this, baby. We're doing this shit, because why the fuck not? Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about now. We're going to talk about this comedy festival in Saudi Arabia with a shit ton of big-name comics attending the event. And we're first going to hear from our boy, Kyle fucking Kalinske. He's going to tell us all about this shit. And
all right, guys,
Fray.
it brings me no pleasure to do this segment, I must say. So one of the things you'll notice
So one of the things you guys got to know right off the bat is that my boy Kyle here is a big old Bill Burr fan. Loves him some Bill motherfucking Burr. So he's real disappointed Bill Burr's doing this comedy festival.
you've been watching the show, is that I love a guy by the name of Bill Burr. Bill Burr is one of the few people out
I guess he gives that context, so it's very unnecessary for me to give it. So whatever. Once again, I've wasted your fucking
there
time again.
who has been correctly standing up to all the little Trump sycophantic bitches in the podcast world, in the Rogan sphere. Basically saying like, hey guys, you're in over your head. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Have a little bit of humility. You know, this is Bill Burr's message to the Rogans and the Andrew Schultz and the Theo Vons and the, like, come on, man. You guys are getting way too political. You're in over your head. And also, Trump is kind of bad. And reel it in a little bit. So I love him for that. I also love Mark Maron. I think you could argue Mark Maron has even gone further than Bill Burr in his criticisms. And I think Mark Maron's criticisms are spot on. But Bill Burr represents a kind of comic that I still like. You know, unfortunately, what's happened to comedy more broadly sucks. Go watch that Elephant Graveyard, a 2-hour video or whatever it was, about the anti-reality doomsday death cult that is comedy. That's you have to watch that if you haven't. It's about Rogan and the Rogan sphere people and how they've ruined comedy. But Bill Burr was an example of a comic who I still have respect for, I still have admiration for, and he is the heir apparent to the George Carlins and the Bill Hicks. Whereas Rogan is like Rush Limbaugh now, right? Like, just I have no love for him. So, but here I have to tell you, I really think that Bill Burr sort of fucked up here, bro. I really think he fucked up, and I'll show you why. So, shout out to whoever. There's somebody who was watching Kyle and Corn live and sent this in and alerted me to this because I didn't know that this was the case. And shout out to that person. I'm sorry I don't have your name right in front of me here, but this person said, "Hey, did you know that Bill Burr is going to the Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival, the Riyadh Comedy Festival?" And I said, that can't be true. No. That's not true. Is it? No, that's not true. Come on. Turns out it is, y'all. So look at this. This is the website here. Ready for this? So the Riyadh Comedy Festival. Time out, Riyadh. Ready? Dave Chappelle is going to this thing. Dave Chappelle has joined the Riyadh Comedy Festival, but we're just getting started here. Y'all ready? Let's see.
Bunch of big
So we got
names.
Dave Chappelle. We got Kevin Hart, Russell Peters, Maz Jobrani. This one surprises the fuck out of me, too. Kevin Hart doesn't surprise me. He always is looking for a bag. Russell Peters, I don't know. I guess that doesn't surprise me. Maz Jobrani surprises me because he's been on, like, the Young Turks a bunch, right? He's been...
Okay, so anyway, a bunch of big-name comics are there. Jimmy Carr's there, and Bill Burr is one of the big-name comics at this fucking event. Let's take a look at Mark Maron really quick, laying out his criticisms of the comics that are going to this event before I give you my take, and then you can know the real truth.
Festival. I don't know if you heard about that. This is true. There's a Riyadh, Saudi Arabia comedy festival. I mean, how do you...
Wow, that's really quiet. It's really fucking quiet. Hold on, I'm going to go find you guys a better fucking copy of this. Because we can't abide by that shit. You guys need to hear what the fuck this guy is saying. Jesus. Let's see if I can find it on YouTube. Mark Maron Riyadh. However the fuck you spell that. Let's hear him talking about that. Mark Maron explodes on Bill Burr and Rogan Sphere for comedy. Yeah, here we go.
Well, there's a Riyadh
Yeah, here we go. This is better.
comedy festival. I don't know if you heard about that. This is true. There's a Riyadh, Saudi Arabia comedy festival. I mean, how do you even promote that? You know, like, from the folks that brought you 9/11, 2 weeks of laughter in the desert. Don't miss it. I mean, the same guy that's going to pay them is the same guy that paid that guy to bonesaw Jamal Khashoggi and put him in a fucking suitcase.
Okay. So, yeah, I think we got it, right? I think we get what's going on here. Bunch of comics going to go perform in Saudi Arabia. Because, they're getting a big old fucking shit ton full of money, right? Shit ton full of money. What the fuck? All right, I've been doing this too long at this point. But anyway, they're getting a big old fucking giant industrial-sized fucking garbage can full of fucking cash, motherfucking money. And, the Kyle Kalinskis of the world are saying, you shouldn't do a comedy festival in Saudi Arabia. It's an evil country. It's fucking dictatorship, etc., etc., etc. And the Mark Marons of the world, it's a fucking terrible country and they've done terrible things and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let me just ask this. There's a chance Kyle Kalinske might be watching this right now. He sometimes watches my shit. Mark Maron, probably not. But maybe. Who knows? Who knows where these clips go and where they get seen. But listen. Guys, do you really think that you could still play this card in 2025 of Saudi Arabia as a dictatorship? I mean, look around. Like, the people of Saudi Arabia are just people. They're human beings, and they deserve laughter, do they not? Why shouldn't they have a fucking laugh? Just because their government's done some evil shit? Our government's done evil shit. Don't we deserve a laugh every now and then? If you don't believe we deserve a laugh, then there shouldn't even be such a fucking job as a goddamn comedian. And, Mark Maron's like, they did 9/11 and they chopped up a journalist. It's like, we're funding a genocide in Israel, are we not? Last I checked, we are. We've been doing horrible shit like that for a while now. I mean, the United States, even before the modern era, has got a fucking goddamn scroll of known atrocities to its name. And that's just the known ones. Who knows what other evil shit we had our fucking hands in as a country. But the people of the country still deserve a fucking comedy performance, don't they? I think they do. I don't know. So I don't really see the big fucking deal. They perform in a fascist shithole that's done some evil shit. Well, so does every American comedian, right? I mean, I'm not saying we're as bad as Saudi Arabia yet. But, actually, maybe we are. I don't know. I don't know how to fucking morally rank that shit. Because the U.S. is certainly a lot more powerful than Saudi Arabia. We've done more international meddling than Saudi Arabia. Not to say they haven't had their fair share. But I just don't get it. Why is it okay for a comedian to make Americans laugh when their country is bad and evil? But it's not okay for them same comics to go to Saudi Arabia and make those motherfuckers chuckle. I don't get it. Like, is performing for a Saudi Arabian audience an endorsement of Saudi Arabia and everything it's ever done on the world stage? Because we don't use that criteria when a comic performs here. Now, I am willing to entertain the possibility that I am just missing something here. That there is some distinction, some key difference that my mind is just, I didn't think of it that way. But I just don't see what the fucking problem is. Let me know what you think. So the last thing I want to talk about is AI art. And I've talked about it before, and I've one thing you guys, maybe you know this about me, maybe you don't. But I love making AI music. I started making AI music about a year ago, and I've been making it at such a rate that I think I have like 10 albums worth of music just from the last year. And I really enjoy it. In fact, I would say that now about 20, 30% of the time when I'm listening to music, I'm listening to the music that I created for myself using AI. And, maybe that's a bit narcissus. Maybe that's me looking at my own reflection and becoming enraptured by it, the reflection of my psyche. But I don't know. I just have a lot of fun with it, and I don't really understand what's so wrong about that. Because there just seems to be a lot of people that are fucking super goddamn mad about anything created with AI, especially artistically. And I don't know, I've just had a blast doing it. Like when I was growing up, I always wanted to be the lead singer of a band. And the main reason I wanted to do it is because I loved writing song lyrics and I loved thinking about how the songs would sound and how they'd be sung. But I'm not a social person. I am not the kind of person who's going to go form a fucking band. I don't have the singing talent to properly convey all of the things I want to do with the music, all of the things I want to express with the lyrics. So I never did that. That dream was dead. I had gone a different path. But now, thanks to services like Suno, which is the one I use, I can turn my lyrics into full-fledged fucking songs that I can then listen to and enjoy. And I don't really get where or why that's a problem. And the reason I hear the most is that it's putting artists out of work. And I guess I just fundamentally have a different view of art, because I don't think that art should be thought of as work. And I don't think you should make art for an audience. One of the reasons, my last video I made was an hour long. This one is even longer so far. And one of the reasons why I have been doing these long videos like this that I do without cutting, without editing, and it's like, it begs the question, or it puts forth the question that, why don't I just stream at that point? Because I could get super chat donations. I could get better engagement with a live stream than I can with a pre-recorded video. But here's the thing. There being an audience scrolling by, I don't want to say it taints the process, because when we do Deep Fat Fried, when we do the Onion Nuggets show, we do that live. We do that live every Tuesday and Friday. And I've done live shows in the past, and I don't have anything against live shows, but something about the direct presence and immediate feedback of an audience is going to fundamentally change the nature of my performance, and it's going to fundamentally change the nature of how things are talked about. And when I'm doing what I'm doing right now, I think of it in terms of it being art. Now, maybe it's low art, maybe it's shit tier art, maybe it's the most basic fucking anybody could do it, simplistic art in the world. I don't happen to agree with that stuff, but I can certainly see that perspective. Maybe this is garbage tier, horrible fucking art. But I do think of it as art. That's why I hate being called a content creator. Because I don't think of what I do as fucking content, even though I do, just because of the common, vernacular of the society I live in and the way things are discussed. I do use those terms at times. But I really dislike it. And I try to avoid it. Because I don't like thinking of this as content. I don't like thinking of it as just something to pass your fucking time. I would like to touch your lives in some way. I would like to make you see things from a different perspective. I would like my words to have some sort of impact on you. But ultimately, that's not the most important thing about the art that I create. And that shouldn't be, in my opinion, the most important thing about any art that's created. Art should be first and foremost for the fucking artist. It should be a form of self-expression. And if I can use a tool like Suno to take lyrics that I wrote and put them to music and tell Suno, no, I want it more like this. I actually want more of this influence or that influence, etc., etc. Why should I not be able to do that for my own fucking amusement? And if someone else likes it, all the better. All the better. Right? So, I think it's fucking wonderful. I love AI art. I love the fact that I can create a fucking song at my leisure. That if I get some lyrics in my head, I can instantly turn them into something. I'm going to show you one right now. This is a short one that I did recently where, you know, I attempted to sort of fuse polka and death metal. I'm not saying you have to enjoy it, but I want you to explain to me why I shouldn't do this and why I shouldn't fucking enjoy doing this. Because I don't see what the fucking harm is. And, you know, I've heard all the arguments. None of them have been compelling to me, but, you know, maybe you can make them in a way that I haven't heard yet. But I'm going to play this song. And this song is called Good News. It's a very short song. I'll go ahead and put it on the screen just so you can follow along with the lyrics if you want. Because it is kind of as a death metal influence, so some of it might be kind of hard to follow otherwise. So here is the song that I wrote.
Hey! Smothered by a big butt, squished by a jiggly ass. You lived a meaningless life, but at least you died like a champ.
I was supposed to be on the screen.
Fuck it. Crushed like a bug, crushed by an ass, large like a bar's that booty in charge. Yeah.
I mean, it pretty much just repeats itself from there. It's a song about me visiting myself from the future. Or my future self visiting me, rather, and telling me that the way I die is I'm smothered to death by a big ass. And I'm aware of the paradox there. But I don't care, because it's just a silly song. It's just meant to fuse. You know, I just want to see if I could fucking fuse polka and death metal using this technology. And I feel like it does. And I enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, okay, fine. But I do. And I don't really see the problem. Well, it uses other people's music. I mean, have you seen the amount of fucking plagiarism that goes on in the music industry? So what? Musicians steal from each other all the time. Musicians fucking are influenced by each other all the time. Musicians take stuff from each other all the time. All artists do that. All artists do that. Why is it so different when it's a fucking machine? I don't get it. But I'm sure one of you is going to explain it to me. So go ahead. Lay it out. I'll listen. I'll be open-minded. But goddamn, I love making this shit. In fact, if anyone's interested to hear more of my AI-generated bullshit music, I'll link my favorite album that I've done down below there. Or at least one of them. Maybe I'll just give you the whole fucking I'll just give you the whole fucking playlist or whatever. I don't know. We'll see what I do. There'll be something. I'll decide later how to cultivate it. But there will be a link down there fucking that you can look at and engage with if you so choose. So, what else can we do here? There's something I got to tell you guys. And I was going to do this at the beginning, but I decided to save it for the end for two reasons. The first reason is I knew that only my true fans would still be watching this far into the video. And the second reason is I forgot that I was supposed to do it. So, the Douchebag Bible. This I wrote, this is a compilation of a few books that I wrote early on in my YouTube career and shit. And they're all compiled here, and they, I don't remember when did I publish this one? I don't remember exactly when I published this. It's been out for a few years now. I thought that I was completely out of copies of this, and I had no plans to sell anymore. However, I recently discovered that I did have about 63 of these left. I found a box of them. I meant to put them on sale a while ago, but I just was too lazy to do it. But I am now selling these. Now, you can already buy this on Amazon for just retail price if you want. The ones that I am selling are going to be signed and they're going to be personalized, okay? So that means, you know, you give me your name, I write your name, I write you a little message, you got a request of something you want me to draw, I will draw it for you. And, you know, that'll be that. And that is for sale down below. And I want to talk about, you know, this idea, too, about AI, that if you use AI to create art of any kind, that is like a sign that you're not creative. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that I'm the greatest painter in the world, although I do believe that on some fucking narcissistic, egomaniacal level. But I have been painting recently. It has become my hobby. And I don't use AI to paint. I don't have a robot that sits there with the brush painting for me. And, you know, I like painting. So here's one of my paintings that I created. Try to get the light to not reflect on it so crazily there, but yeah. I created this. I painted it with my own fucking hands. And I enjoyed doing that, and I've painted several more, and I've got, I don't know, in the last month or two, I've painted probably 6 or 7 fucking paintings. I'm not someone who spends an inordinate amount of time on them, but I do enjoy it. I do find it therapeutic, and I do find it interesting to explore the medium. And, you know, I do find it artistically satisfying and all that stuff. So, you know, I mean, I don't feel like I'm an uncreative person here. I mean, fuck, I paint my face somewhat regularly, for fuck's sake. And I don't know, like, people say, like, if you call yourself an AI artist, you're not a real artist. Well, I'm an AI artist and I'm a traditional fucking artist. Am I a real artist? And if not, explain to me why I'm not. Anyway. I have something here from Matt Walsh. This is him shitting on trans people for the 12-minute time. Here we go. Let's take a look at it. Should really put this closer where I can see it. There we go.
Transgender identifying individuals are the single most likely demographic group in the entire country to commit deadly mass shootings that cause 4 or more fatalities. And that's why this graph, which was posted yesterday by one of the big data accounts on X.
Now you might be wondering to yourself, why would someone like Matt Walsh, with a team that could research this, be relying on a random chart from X with no citations?
I'm not wondering that at all.
And the answer is, of course, because he's a fucking liar. According to the Gun Violence Archive, of the 5,729 mass shootings of 4 or more people over the past 12 years, which is a terrifying statistic in and of itself, only 5 were committed by transgender people. That means that per capita, trans people are disproportionately less likely to commit mass shootings compared to people that look like you and I, man. In fact, we are 3.3 times more likely to be the face you see behind that gun. So why would a show like Matt Walsh's share such a staggeringly wrong number when it took me on my phone less than 5 minutes to find these stats? Because they don't actually care about the victims of gun violence. They just hate trans people. And they're relying on their audience being stupid enough to just nod along and not fact check them.
Their audience, it's worse than that, my man. It's worse than that. Because the reality is, they're not, even if they did get you could fact check it. You can take every fucking person on earth that gave a thumbs up to that Matt Walsh video and show them the facts, and they literally will reject the facts in favor of their narrative, because once again, we live in the post-truth era, okay? Truth no longer matters. Feelings don't care about your facts. That's where we are as a culture, as a society. And, you know, do I like that we're here? On some level, kinda, because it's chaotic. And I am like a moth to flame when it comes to chaos. But of course, the flame ultimately destroys the moth. So there is that. Anyway, if you have watched all 1 hour, 44 minutes, 39 seconds and counting of this, I thank you kindly, and I appreciate you for doing so. Where's that fucking book? Here it is. I am selling this book, The Douchebag Bible. I have 63 left that I found in a box that I had no idea I still had in my possession until a few months back. But I will be selling those, signed and personalized. You can buy those down below. Please do so if you dare. And also, even though I love these paintings and I really don't want to get rid of them, I also have to face up to the fact that they're starting to get harder and harder to find places for. So if anybody's interested in purchasing some of my art, let me know. I don't have a store for that yet, but let me know if there's any interest in that at all. Because if there is, maybe I'll open a store and I'll sell them. I will not charge some inordinate amount of money for them. You know, I'll probably just not even really look to make much of a profit, just look to maybe fund the hobby, because those paints do kind of get expensive and stuff. But anyway, I know I've taken up a lot of your time, but I guess if you're this far into it, you've enjoyed the time we spent together. I hope that you found something interesting about it. And I love you all, and get the fuck out of here, because I have been jonesing for a fucking cigarette since about 20 minutes into this thing, to the point where I was sitting there this whole fucking time. I'm like about 20 minutes in, I'm looking at the recording button, and it's like, I'm looking at stop record, like, man, if I press that right now, I could go have me a smoke. What a hopeless, useless addict I am. Okay. But now I can actually go do it. So that's good. Thank you guys for watching. Love you all. Let me know what you thought about any of the stories or subjects that I covered down below. And see you next time. Bye-bye.